about our theme now, that is Portugal as an access node to Europe, that is a logistic node. We have here our position. We mentioned that Portugal, due to its circumstance of being a Portuguese-speaking country, of living in a space where there are 55 million of people in the Iberian Peninsula, who also speak Spanish, and with the Portuguese and Spanish, we have an easy understanding that brings us to be able to say that there's a billion Iberian languages speakers with the Internet of communication that this brings. We also mentioned that we are close to the Atlantic Ocean with the 97 countries that are around it. We showed that we could work in logistics, that we had a good infrastructure. We also showed that there are transit corridors, namely in the axis that produce three great spaces of flux, that is the Far East Europe. So looking at this and knowing that the Atlantic, more particularly from the center to the south, is highly considering what is giving a great power to Iberian languages. We know that in the west side, that is the African Occidental coast, there's a country that is Angola with a great economical potential, and that's Portuguese as well. There is in the equatorial area of Africa some countries that speak Spanish and Portuguese as well. Turning around here in South Africa, we have Mozambique that, although it's on the Indian Ocean, a great part of its cargo flux is generated on the other side. It's evidence to us that the Atlantic Ocean will be a development for we're going to open this topic. For example, in the south, we have a space that exclusively speaks Portuguese and Spanish, that is the Mercosur, and that has some emerging forces, I mentioned namely Brazil and Argentina. Just to mention something, nowadays we see politicians in Brazil, or especially in Brazil, we see a set of indicators that seem to go against this logic I'm mentioning here. I'm not here researching Portugal for the next 5 years. I'm here trying to give a strategic perspective of Portugal and in an horizon of 25 years. And in this particular, what today is a technical recession in Brazil wasn't so 5 years ago, and during the next 5 probably won't be as well. The economic potential that Brazil has, just as Argentina, allows us to really make a statement that these countries are countries with a word saying, with with a word to say in the future development of the world, and there are reports that sustain this hypothesis. But on this side, we have the Mercosur, and on this side, we have the economic community of the development of South Africa. We have here three giants: South Africa, Mozambique, Angola. And on the northern side, there's some stability dictated mainly by the conflict, by the internal conflict in the Republic of Congo, but that themselves tend to stabilize, having a tendency to stabilize. And therefore, it's an area where we have competitive advantages with some of our partners by the circumstance of having there a great dominion of logistics, the language, the network, the relationships of networks established from both sides, and we also have the logistic skill. In the north is drawn the NAFTA, the space of free trade that connects Mexico, the United and Canada. On this side, we have the European Union, in which we took part. And finally, the area of free trade that is being studied between the United States and Europe. What is curious we mentioned when describing the market that in the 90s we went from the made in country to the made in the world. And I'm now trying to make you some sort of logistic proposal that is for the made in certain regional areas, moving from a perspective, from a global perspective where everyone participating at the same time to a strategic spaces strategy of region. This has consequences in logistics. The probable evolution of globalization that brought us here today, the great line of orientation is to dismantle barriers, especially boundaries, the integration of countries in the global village with somewhere a global goal. There is nowadays sometimes the question that these signs have been brought to the surface by the financial crisis that fell on the world at the end of the first century, and has brought here this notion of integration of global village as not being as easy as we thought. At this point, there is an affirmation of space, a bit like the European Union, and curiously, a recovery of financial and non-fiscal boundaries, especially the non-fiscal, through quality certification, through health certification, through a panoply of mandatory elements that can be an obstacle to the human fluxes. I don't know if it's of your knowledge that a country that in 2017, the country with the greater barriers that not typical is the United States. And there is some difficulty in the negotiation Europe is less United States. Is that curious? Independently from this multipolar isolation, not so much global, but multipolar in region. Besides barriers, everything indicates the several degrees of growth of international base are still variable. So we're still having 2015 500 million that choose 65 billion of tons in the ports between regions with the reason I've located these because these are those who interest me the most in terms of the proposal that I'm bringing to you. But it's important not to forget that here in the Pacific there's some spaces that are being formed, for example the Pacific Ring, here in the Indian Ocean as well, some other spaces, so I can bring here everything, and it's not an object. So I brought you the spaces around the Atlantic that are being developed around the Atlantic that I would like to give you this message. The global world, and we see it as we've been seeing it until today, will probably evolve into a multipolar world in the world of regionalization of space. Basically, in the slide that I showed you, we're going to have a part in which we won't have made in the world, but made in regional areas developed. Of course, the customs brokers have to pay great attention to this because this is mandatorily going to produce great changes in customs evaluation of the free space, but it's going to increase the requirements, the claims in other spaces as well. This means we can see very clearly to the right that this means that these spaces here, in terms of population, these four spaces represent 1 billion and 600 million people. We are at the level of China. These spaces represent a wealth of 42 million raw products, which means that in terms of we managed in 97 countries that involved it to compete in terms of population and in terms of wealth with the great space of the Far East, that is. And so, it would be tempting to say that Portugal will have in the Atlantic its great area of development, which means that our transport, roads, transport, railway, airports will have in this paper a great area of development. This doesn't mean that they can receive cargo from the transit with the Far East. However, I'd like to call your attention to the slide that we saw previously, where this traffic is already centered in the Mediterranean or the North Sea, and so competing. And we saw this in the slide where Finch appears in the 20th or 100th position. Competing with the space would have to be a competition determining the price. Here there is skill and competing based on price. We are inevitably competing to take our organizations to situations of raising their prices. We need to find spaces where we can go besides, beyond price, because we have skills that make the difference between us and the other spaces. Thus, what are we doing in Portugal to make this possible? The discussion is great, as you all managed to see. We speak about change and the concerns of the railway connection to the frontier, that's true. But we also speak about the Barreiro terminal, almost as national designation, and everything goes to the Barreiro terminal. Then we speak about the railway connection data to Salamanca, and everything goes to this railway connection. To summarize, the speech that reaches the public through the media is a speech of several ideas that are being communicated. We need to integrate what we have, and we have a lot in this environment that I described. For example, the government 10 years ago, that was the government of the Socialist Party, made two elements that structure the country, that is the logistic platforms and the operates that the corridors of traffic that connected to the frontier. The government that now finished its functions made a great document, that is the document of the infrastructures known as PICI. It also established legislation. The European Union, meanwhile, gave us a financial package of 5 billion euros in the program Portugal 2020 money. That is the thing that we're always counting about. And so, the question we're asking is this one: what do we have to discuss further? We have the infrastructures, we have the skills, we have money. Exactly. We are relying for people to publicly take this, and people is all of us, and have to say this is where we're going. And this is what I want to bring to you. It's not a closed opportunity, it's possible to have other opportunities. What it's not is not having any. In an agitated world, as the one we're mentioning here, for example, do you remember the slide of the growth of sheep? 24,000. I have to tell you that I was prepared quite a while ago in the sequence of the invitation that I do this session with you. Meanwhile, 15 days ago, I was humbled in an event where that slide was outdated because the 30,000 teams were announced. So within a month, 2 months, a slide that I was reading here with 24,000 tears, and I would tell you here with a very natural that this was the great shipwreck, and I wouldn't be lying because it's in the shipyard at this moment, but I would mention the 30,000 tears. 15 days ignore this reality and to look at matters of railway connections that are quite lesser. No, we need to integrate this, and it's urgent. For example, for the port of Shanghai here, this matter of the 30,000 TEUs is not a problem because this port doesn't have enough funds. This port has funds for ships up to 5,000 TEUs. The terminal of 50 meters that is in project is built, and 5,000 TEUs is a reasonable dimension for short distance, because if the ship is bigger than 5,000 TEUs, it will itself have the need to have junction points of cargo, and then this will be possible. The level of our standard of living secure, we need to have them ensuring this frequency of the activity. But if I shift, I cannot spend money in 8,000 TEUs terminal when we have 24 and 30,000 in construction. I can't do that. I mentioned that due to variety, we need logistic platforms because we're in the phase of demaritimization, and so we're going to build a terminal in the south margin when the logistic platform is in the north. How can we go from one space to the other? And the 4 million people I mentioned who live mainly in the north, well, they'll all just go to everything is free. They have a platform. This has to be contextualized. It's not just about producing documents. For example, the port communities are preparing a document to present to the new coming government, and the idea is to appeal to pragmatism. We're not still going to reflect. We're going to put into practice to do that. And so we have instruments, we have the vocations, we have the language, we have the know-how, we have the fact that we are close to the Atlantic, we have the spaces where it's easy to negotiate, not to mention our diaspora that is essentially focused on the Atlantic, both in the United States, in Canada, in all the countries where we are close to the Atlantic. Our diaspora focus there, with some exceptions and at the far east. So, as Elio here said it, we need vision. We lack vision, or at least we openly lack spirit. Here we have the logistics, the program logistics 2021. So we're not lacking instruments, either money, and that is something that around here is an everyday speech. You probably saw in the newspapers that the logistics group of Matinci was sold to a Turkish group that is present in several parts of the world. I have at least to say this: no one is going to buy something that is not worth it. No one is going to give 300 million euros for something that is not worth it. Moreover, for something that doesn't have geostrategic, just the strong position. We can see here in Muscat. Turkey is at the end. By putting itself here, it will open itself to the Atlantic. The other places where they invest is also in the Northern Atlantic. Moreover, if you are paying attention, and you will verify, you probably are, you'll see that the last visitations of the American and Chinese presidents were in the this underdeveloped continent was. Well, the African continent is some set of the most elevated consumption, for example, in terms of the infrastructure of communication and information technology, or machine, cell phones, computers, etc. There are even some very fun things out of curiosity. There are some interesting things in the neighborhoods where there's no light in the African neighborhoods. How can we charge our cell phones? Well, some columns have been created where people go to charge their cell phones. All of this producing and social fact is quite amazing, and that is that while the cell phone is charging, people are talking to each other when many years ago when they would go to the market or to the church or to the factors of social agglutination. So there's a great change. Let's not think of the world as wonder it was a few years ago, because if we do, we might make mistakes and take risks. Well, here we're missing some light. Well, we do have too much light. These are the logistic platforms that are close to the ports, precisely to allow those. Some of them are also at the frontiers, but here we have those that are mainly by the ports. We have the one of Siege, the Tulos has a great logistic platform that is the logistic platform out to Europe, that is related to Europe, and then we have Evade and Leash. The logistic platforms, as I mentioned, are fundamental to introduce the variety in logistics, allowing the approximation of the product and the consumer. I'm here going to give you a note that I didn't mention back then, but I think it's worth mentioning. Among the logistic platforms that are more successful in the world is Dubai. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Dubai in this logistics perspective, not only in a tourist perspective. I've been in Dubai approximately 12 to 15 years ago when the platform was starting. And what did Dubai do? Dubai gave it geographic position. Coming here to the map again, it would give it geographic position approximately equidistant from China, from the factories and the consumption places, and they introduced a logistic concept that is the sea. All the products are transported in block to Dubai, and from Dubai, in the logistic platform, a transformation of the product is made, the adaptation of the product to the market as well, and starting there, it is distributed by airways to Europe and the United States, and lots of them to China as well. Notice that the ships that come to Europe route this journey. In this case, there's a deviation of route to go to Dubai here, unload, and then go back. Sometimes they re-enter the route, and sometimes they just go back. This because Dubai offers to the multinational brands the possibility to have train almost free skills in terms of technologies with a workforce that is Pakistanis and Indian that is quite close to Dubai. And then offering them space that are taxed, where they can finish their production. Starting there, they can distribute by airways to all the world in the strict quantity that the market wants to absorb. 12 years ago, I was there when all this was starting, and there was 200 or 300 companies anchored into logistics. The container terminal was, at back then, approximately 7 or 8 porticos. I've been 2 years ago to Dubai again, and the terminal has now 40 ship shorteners and 7,000 companies entered, which means that, which they can say that if the profit doesn't go to the mountain will go to the profit. Dubai understood that it wasn't through maritimization that it developed the business. It had to develop this maritimization, the logistics, to make ships Barcelona do the same thing. And that's why here nowadays there's a great platform that does the distribution by airway over the American, European continent with the necessary reductions of time, fixing the adjustment of production to the market, to what the market requires. And this is a variety of conditioning. When we have this, we can see it here. So it comes to on this side, it's not on the concept of variety that we stop having possibilities. We adhere all these possibilities corridors also the defined by the plan. And we finally have 13 quality projects to which are dedicated 5 billion euros with European support, 16 ports, 8 in the railways, 2 on the roads, 2 on the airports, and 2 other related to the Dover Inland Waterway. This Dover Inland Waterway, for people who don't know, it's a project that the Spanish hold very dear. Because Spanish people have reached the conclusion that they have to see at the top of the river when it goes north and becomes the international Douro. And so following the channel up to the Parque d'Alba, at the top, they made a pier that is Vegatejo, and that its closest point to the sea that Madrid has. Of course, we're now adding the land course and the river course, and I'm already into an event, 3. Was promoting Vegatejo, where Madrid affirmed that this was its gateway to the sea, and this is quite amazing regarding Valencia, that is nowadays the greatest gateway to Madrid. Some of the means in Madrid, especially those connected to the logistics platform, assume that the greater doorway is the Douro River and Vegatejo. So if tomorrow hear about this inland waterway with hundreds of thousands of containers, do not find it strange, because this is exactly in the same line of creating alternatives of access of the Portuguese ports to the Iberian hinterland. Portugal 2020. What's Portugal 2020? It's an articulation of several funds that nowadays are still dispersed. We have the there are many funds nowadays that are scattered. Each directed for something specific for which it was created. Portugal 2020 tried an agreement between Portugal and the European Commission for these 5 months that we have here to be articulated. And so what would be left over from on the one side could be reused on the other. So we want to create an articulation of these 5. The Iberian corridor. As I told you, that Iberian corridor that is in yellow here, that is the Atlantic corridor, not the Iberian. It's a railway corridor that still needs the maritime connection. So if you go to a seminar with railway workers, and you've probably been to some of those, we systematically hear that our lines do not allow trains bigger than 500 meters. We need to reach this 750 meters. France already has a kilometer. So this is a great increase in the trains as there was in the boat. Why can't we do bigger trains? Because there's some issues in terms of inclined planes where the machines then can't make the traction of the train. But there's a problem in the lines that are unique, that go both ways. It's important that we could have areas where the trains could just pass each other. All these lines, all the lanes do not have trains with the dimensions of 750 meters. So we can say that the last cars would be on the line and we wouldn't let the other train pass. Then there's a problem of the change of power of the network in Spain and Portugal. Then there's something else, and then something else. And after there's always more. Of course, you know, and especially our colleagues freight forwarders here, that Deutsche Bahn and the Schenker was associated here in Portugal with 2 or 3 other organizations. And Alter Europe itself, I believe, organized trains that would go weekly from Portugal to Germany. Where is all this history now? The Deutsche Bahn has special lines that Hens and CP don't have here. So there seems to be here a situation that needs to be clarified, because as far as I know, the trains were suspended due to difficulties of the French network, not the Portuguese or the Spanish, but the French, because the French network invested excessively in trains, in high-speed trains, and what is left for the cargo trains is a very poor network, or at least a reasonably poor network. And so the problem of one train passing another and the traffic jams in France have not been made available as German trains wished and trains also wished. So, all of this are the aspects where we have to discuss other bases. Our railway network is not a good one. It's but it's not as poor as a network as we hear the responsibles of the railway responsibles. But as we meet them in seminars, and the problems are always happening here. So it seems to make things happen. What is currently in the process.
So with the help of the discipline of the Iberian Peninsula brings us an extremely favorable position regarding, for example, once again, the main corridors and the priority corridors to Spain and Europe. And so, at this point, it's interesting. It's interesting to debate, and we can do it together. This proposition, we have a lot of lights here. It's difficult to see the presentation. It's a little better, right? So what we have here is clearly a patch in the Atlantic and the Caribbean, and in the patch through the Pacific. Fixing what I told you about the Panama Canal, I have some doubts about this position because in a panorama of 24 or 30,000 TEUs, a ship with half capacity and even more with the Pacific Ocean that has no intermediate scale points. The traffic here by the Suez Canal has several intermediate points of traffic. This means that we can come from here, stop in Singapore, unload and load the cargo that we are bringing to Australia and Indonesia. Then to come here to Colombo and distribute the cargo that comes to here, to there. So we can have different scales. In the Mediterranean, we can distribute cargo for the Black Sea to all the Middle East. So several intermediate points of scale when we are in the Pacific, just to arrive at the conclusion that for a ship or 20,000 TEUs, this can be replaced in traffic by ships of smaller dimension. But in the Pacific, in which we have point to point, Shanghai, Los Angeles, Ningbo, Los Angeles. Here, the space is undoubtedly for the ultra-large container vessels. And so the ships will not come to the Atlantic from the idea that Europe needs
to grow is an idea that needs to be confirmed, and very confirmed, because don't pass here. What is there left to the Pacific that can be interesting for us? And here, yes, indeed, we can be interested in the connection to the American Occidental coast, to that Mercosur space, but on the side of the Pacific. This indeed could be an opportunity, and an opportunity where we or our ship owners can transport to Portugal, and from there we can make the distribution over Europe, either by maritime or by railway transport. I'd like to call your attention, freight forwarders and the customs breakers probably know this, the greater part of the connections that are being made from Sinjor to Sinj do have the Atlantic, which means that the MSC that was and still is in Valencia also has interest in Cancherman, that is the terminal, the alternative terminal that the Kingdom of Morocco built. It was installed in Sinj, and of course we can see that Sinj has been in a time of problems in Valencia, and the MSC needed an alternative here, and the alternative of Sinj was right there. If it was just about that, the MSC surely won't have made the investment that it did in the CP cargo, in the participation of the 21st terminal, and wouldn't work so hard to see the port of Sinj grow. MSC has strategically Valencia for Far East traffic and has Sinj for Atlantic traffic. So our position in terms of the Atlantic is an extremely favorable position. Now, we need to grow the ticket terminal to make it. Here the question is to make growth Sinj and Barreiro, not helping Sinj grow and help Barreiro grow and have the two terminals. Well, this is a discussion that will have to happen within the country, and I would love for this discussion in terms of Barreiro and Sinj in the end wouldn't have the same course that had the Alcochete airport. First Alta, then Alcochete, then nothing at all. I am not going to speculate over the best solution, if it's Alta or Alcochete.
But there was one thing that I'm certain the worst solution is not to have a worst solution. We are at, yes, it's more and more with more and more traffic. Now we have the choice of Montijo as a solution that bring down the traffic from this. Okay. It is to be done. It is to be done. We cannot delay it anymore. So, of Alta and Alcochete, Alta was debated 30 or 40 years ago. I believe that Alta started in the time of the Estavam. And now we don't have Alcochete. We don't have anything. And if we want to keep having some weight in the passenger transport along distance, we can that person. Namely, and here we are getting back to the Atlantic. Namely, the Atlantic have a great position regarding maritime transport. Exactly in the same place we grow terminals. But we will not debate internally Barreiro, Lisbon, sorry, Sinj. We cannot have this debate in which at the end we will have nothing at all. To me personally, as I have already stated clearly, I have sat down regarding Barreiro. The way that Barreiro arrived to me, of course, that the project is in a very immature stage, and it's probably that not everything has been posted. But if it is true that it's a terminal for 1,000 years, I believe that this investment is, it should be done quickly, because it is without the adjustments and the transport today. On the other hand, and regarding the logistic platform, after demaritization, the variety of products, which has a logistic platform, but it doesn't the other side. So it seems to have scale that cannot be successful. Need to have this with publication. Have to debate is only removing hands and buttons. Have two values that are completely different. And for engineers and a port authority that is a value that is relatively modest. I have no capacity or technical and competence to know which one is right, but I know one thing, that zero is odd. I have not defined terminal for ships with 20,000 T or longer. Platform by on the other hand, there are enlargement of the south terminal for containers and the system of the construction is minus 14 meters. As I told you before, it is my belief that the 5,000 TEU special ships are the ones that will ensure the network of connectedness of the airports short. For European standard, difficulty will go about 5,000 TEU because we need to concentrate cargo, and this makes no sense for short distance times for the 5,000 TEU ship of enough dimensions to fulfill for only that has referees a strong industrial issue that exports to 108 to keep the starting a 14 absolute. And of course, it's certainly minus 14 meters, the goods will stop at the borders. They will find another alternatives, but the alternatives that they will find the north, the sea, or marine, or the south. So they will have a northwest terminal, bigger and expensive. The hard part, and then we have the soft part. Soft part, as I told you. Rates are not a problem. There is fatality. They need to be there in order to operate. The problem today are the platforms of information, communication, and associated with logistics. One involved from the PSW in the maritime LSW, the stage of the D maritime port. So the investments in this area are investments quite heavy. They are investments that needed to data price times are quite short. Ports cannot remove themselves from the subject and be always ahead of what information platforms can provide. Ratios have made a significant effort in this matter. The automatic gateway was the trigger for all the investments that followed. And today, Treasury Board is working more sophisticated in this matter. On the other hand, it's one of the boards that hostage. And why? Because of what's obvious. There is no alternate system. This technology ensures extraordinary efficiency and be able to share information in a broad base of users. But they fail, there is no choice. And so the board the development will bring towards stage of risk that modifies as its operating management way to allocate and maintenance needs are needed for find a rupture. We've had all of our fortunately the system has worked without any ruptures, but one or other has happened. And when this happens, traffic report simply it stops because it cannot receive cargo. Now, this is an area that today is extremely demand on the children that are adjacent to them. In the circumstance, for short function 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, with the development of this project and with the development of the associated electronics, we have the possibility of candidates from what comes from 130 million PUs for the 500 million PUs for the next 25 years. And this, when developed in regional spaces, in spaces where Portugal has a good penetration, and I repeat, spaces that will organize around the hubs and the Atlantic, medical, community of South Africa, and the European Union, and obviously the free commerce area of the European Union with the United States and Canada that is currently being debated. This community harmful of customers is being debated in Europe. In Germany, there was a rally against this reality. Based an argument which is a community that will favor multinational companies and favor the American due to the problem that the R being non-fiscal R American frontier and the non-fiscal an army of the European frontier. I believe that this is a good pressure in order for the negotiation to meet a balance between both parts, but it seems to me, in fact, that it's difficult that this does not happen. The European Union is in a space of announcement, especially of the American economy and the European economy are connected and fixing the effects of the Chinese economy, the American and Indian, and the Russian, the European regarding traffic, customs clearance. If you want to ask something, good afternoon, doctor. It's a very interesting closure after this marathon of modules. This is a cherry on top of the cake, and I would like to congratulate you for the way that you are leading the training. Nonetheless, I would like for you to tell us about the role of the boards and public service and as a factor of territorial cohesion regarding ultra-peripheral regions of Europe, about the role of the connection of the region of Madeira and Azores, and also, if possible, about the role of the Association of Official Language Portuguese and ports in the route of Cabo, because the connection as an alternative to the Silk Route that is subject to problems of instability, even religious stability, and etc. These are the two main points. Okay, these are very interesting points. Just one more paragraph. We observed, and this was one of the aspects focused throughout this training, on a global tendency for mergers and acquisitions within the great maritime transport companies, as well as the creation of maritime terminals, being with a tendency of feeder or gateways or even transshipment throughout the main routes. For example, the Pole World that has been matching on these terminals up in Muller, as I just spoke before, PSA also, with the example of Finch. In a strategy, in a Portuguese strategy, what would be the operator, who would be the operator that could aspire to take the lead on this strategy? Portugal sold the business of their peer to the Turkish group, Elimir. Idlirim. Is this group, Idlirim, positioning itself for the conception of ports in Cape Verde? And so, with this new concession of the Cape Verde ports, geostrategic position in the South Atlantic, and the strengthening of the cable route with a connection to Maghreb, to CPLP, are we witnessing a great change of this paradigm? That's what I want you to do. Well, can I have 3 more hours? Thank you. Your questions are quite important and extremely pertinent. I will try to answer. I will start on that one, building and that's the terminals. We are witnessing regarding transport to an effect that comes to the industry concentration. The goal is obviously to try and lower the structure costs to better operationalize vessels. These gigantic vessels of 24,000 CUs, if there are 3 or 4 shipowners that are involved, it's better than it's just simple. On the global perspective, this is giving an impulse to the transport need to create these alliances, and the terminals are going after it. Just after there is a problem of negotiation between partners in which one has a market power that's and the other has a lower one. So the one that has the lower power tries to start in the equal stage, and this is an answer for business itself, but then there are strategic answers in the specific scalability, but do not exclude the scenery that you have shown up. And I have defined it also to come in front of the store because they are in the back office. So I am connected to another question, which is part of South African strand coming by the Suez coming down here when I see the Turkish. They in the Middle East, they know that better than anyone. Looking at the Atlantic the way that they are, I need to question myself what's happening there that is bringing those parts there to come here, the geopolitical madness by the media of the Egyptian in the Suez Canal working indefinitely. Because the Suez Canal is half of the economy of Egypt, or even more. And Egypt, the last thing that they it's for the Suez Canal to close. There was an experience when it happened the war with Israel. There were a lot of years when the canal was closed, and so the Suez Canal doesn't seem to me that it will close at the level of the Egyptian, but that's a very troubled area. But on the other hand, Egypt itself is also charging for that passage. And there are some studies from some ship owners that are looking at the return by the Cape because what they have to pay is more in terms of passage. Maybe it's more effective to go around it. And if they do, Cape Verde can have a strategic position that's extremely important because they are in the middle of the ocean and they have distribution for both sides of the ocean. I have no doubts about that. I would say trying to answer your question or two questions that are connected. This is not based that it's possible. This has a lot of strength today when situations that more and more unstable, let's see if it's possible. Of course, that will improve our own position in it. But the boards as a cohesion of territory, well, to me, I have no doubts. They are just for the territory, and we are speaking about territory that has islands. Fundamentals much more than plane. The plane for passengers works very well regarding ensuring supply, maritime transport is irreplaceable. But even in the stage of continent, treat the continent for a country that has two frontiers, the wall called Spain, without nothing wrong about it. Or if you will, to have the Pyrenees back then, and on the other side to have a wall which is the ocean. Of course, that the ocean is the great absorber of expansion of the country. Portugal depends on itself. Of course, it's regarding our neighbor Spain. Today, the context of European frontiers don't have the way that they had years ago. But the truth is that driver's licenses are not the same. Light systems, for example, the railroad are not the same. They are different. For the ocean, it is us. So to us, really look for something quite strong. The cohesion of the country, the life of the country. History itself is not coast is everything into the CMI. So to cut the ports, to performing external ports with cut towers to generate the cut for works in pieces. So I think that the country needs to gain back around ports the same empathy or sympathy that it has with the city of Hamburg, the port of Hamburg, the city of Rotterdam, the Dutch for the ports, the Belgian for the ports. We need to gain a culture that is free from this richness that we have ports, ocean, and not only ports in a perspective of fishery. It is also, of course, but ports as a door to access fundamental goods and a door for space of conviviality with the rest. And so you are right in everything that you said. Anyone else wants any further questions? For example, the development, we have the sea economy. Economic now this is a word of everything that we can do around the ocean. But we cannot take some risks. In this moment, we are living in a high enthusiasm, the expansion of our maritime platform to 100 miles. By expanding, we are placing regarding our maritime in contact with the American frontier, the Azores. We are in contact as owners of these maritime protections. We cannot allow that our space of 300 miles of half an ocean can be a stage of parallel activities that are not interesting to us. So we need to have the standing of this space. Everyone's talking about the expansion as a great party, but no one's concerned about if there is an accident the 300 miles in the middle of the ocean or in international attention. If we don't have means for it, well, I don't need to enumerate the consequences of something like this. Let's not just speak about the parallel economy that's not small, as you know. So, okay, the economy, okay, but we will not take that step beyond what our leg allows because we have serious risks of not being able to get there. So when we are addressing expenses of state, the coverage of something like this will need powerful aerial, maritime, powerful. So we are finishing our training. I do hope that I was able to disseminate an idea of what can be the Portuguese logistics integrated with the European Union and the Atlantic Ocean. I truly believe that we have the means to do so. I am not alone. believing in it. Other people also feel this potential beyond what I can do, what people can think. It's very important that all of you and all of us in our everyday life and in the tasks that we ensure in our everyday life, we can feel the adjustment with this reality. And if this is the reality being better and better and better, in the development of our functions, we will get there without any doubt. This is not my great flammable speeches of the economy of the sea. This goes through the adaptation to the reality that we have in front of us and to work on it in a strategic sense, to put a little bit of space for reflection and to stop on the operations of now, which is typical logistics. We are all very focused. The processes, operations of the everyday life, of course, that speed and velocity that I told you before, but we need to have space for the strategy, reflection, where will we place ourselves in 25 years? Where will we go? So, thank you very much for your patience and for being here. I'm at your disposal for whatever you think is useful. Many of the slides are in English. I hope that no one gets insulted by it. You know that the English language is from our everyday life, so it's something like Latin in church in the Middle Ages. So, is there anything that I can add? So, thank you again, and a good afternoon. I think that we have a training afterwards. Oh, no, not today.